Do it live! Do it live! I can go right in and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Rained Out Rantcast on Rumble. I guess I'm on Twitter, and YouTube's allowing me to stream out, I guess. It might. I don't know. I'm not watching it. I'm not monitoring. Tonight's guest, I got Teace Snyder. He's a filmmaker, researcher. Smart guy. He's got all the books. Uses great words that I got to sometimes look up. What's going on, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
Good. We're gonna talk a little bit about MK Ultra, probably. I don't know. We'll see what's up. I didn't even get my my clips ready. I usually have a bunch of clips, to play, but I wasn't able to get those ready. God damn it. Just
No worries.
ruined the show.
You could just make it a quick behind the scenes segment of you like staring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one of those. It's like the
Yeah.
TikTok, like the live TikToks where they're just like there's like 5,000 people watching them and they're just like,
and then you could do a reaction to that so that you could do meta layers of it.
yeah. It's ridiculous. Well, I mean the new TikTok thing, that's holy shit. I don't know if you've seen that stupid fucking trend.
Like when they're
Where they-
literally just being AI.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one I seen that someone posted on Twitter, I swear it is AI. That is AI. But then these other ones that are doing it, no, they're retards.
That's fucking retarded.
Like seriously. I mean, it's like there's that one chick someone showed where she's doing this and then she starts screaming at her kid.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Just
Yeah.
a great character. Like
Yeah.
what the fuck, man? I mean, that type of stuff, that type of like it's crazy how much control the phone has. And like
Yeah.
the social media and like just this technology and this constant. I played a video earlier today that I streamed out live on Twitter where it was like this ex-CIA guy and this other guy that was writing a book. They were buddies. They're probably both CIA, but talking about how long the CIA has been programming, and it's been since the CIA was formed.
Yeah.
Literally since the fucking CIA was formed. How they've been programming it. I've been meaning to put a clip together because the guy, this is back in 1980, and the guy says, they get pre-printed scripts sent out to the local news from CIA handlers.
Yeah.
And then you have that script to Sinclair Media with the, threat to democracy, where everybody's reading the same script. The propaganda and that it's out of control.
Well, technically, like the introductory process to be able to be admitted into the CIA is brainwashing. So they have to brainwash them prior to admission, and then it's just they're the brainwashers after they get in.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've seen the clip of Tucker Carlson on Tulsi Gabbard's podcast, but she goes, the CIA, I didn't know you tried to be in the CIA. What? And he's like, oh, yeah, my whole family was surrounded by the CIA. We had CIA friends, CIA this. I tried, but I didn't pass the test. It's like, what? Bullshit, dude.
Yeah,
Like, what do you
I mean, it really depends on how we compartmentalize and label things, because, I mean, there is no separation between the mainstream media and the CIA at all. So it really just what subdivision of their compartmentalized kind of organization does an individual end up in by the time they go public?
Yeah, but it's all intermingled now. You have these government fucking agents that leave and go join CNN, and like it's like the pharmaceutical companies, the back and forth with the FDA and the CDC, and now it's that in the media.
Yeah, and that's like my experience of researching and reviewing everything is that it's so broken down into the labels that we point a finger at that we don't understand that it's like trying to count drops of water in the ocean. It's like, no, like zoom out, keep zooming out, and then eventually, oh yeah, wow, what the fuck were we doing even bothering to pretend that these were separate things?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody who even like thinks that they're not too like is ridiculous, dude. I just watched this movie called Capricorn 1.
Okay.
Like Tubi is pretty awesome, right? Tubi's got all this great shit on there, man. Like I just watched Jaws for the first time today.
Oh, nice.
The opening scene is terrifying. I mean, when she's screaming out, "I don't want to die, oh God," while the shark's throwing her around, especially after that video came out like a month or two ago of that dude being eaten in the ocean, and people are sitting there like eating their crumpets and shit, and some dude's getting thrown around the ocean and eaten by a fucking shark. And it's like, holy shit, they were total. That's exactly how it does it, just like in Jaws. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, Tubi, they have Capricorn. Yeah, Capricorn 1. This was from 1978. It stars O.J. Simpson and some other people. I can't remember. I'm not good with names, remember? I'm not friends with them anyways. But O.J. Simpson, we all know him, right? And this is 1978. This is about a NASA. And NASA, their logo's on everything. So they signed off on this and all the shit, right? So this is about a project where they are going to fly to Mars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something gets fucked up where they have to pull them off the ship and then take them to a undisclosed hangar. And the movie's funny because it's literally like they're just hanging out. It's supposed to take like 6 months, they're saying, to get to Mars just with what we have now. But back then, it was just like you just hang out on the soundstage of Mars, you know? And you're wearing the same fucking suit the whole time. But anyways, they had to pull them out and then they had to fake it. And it was literally laid out like the moon, faking the moon. You know, they pulled these guys out of that fucking rocket before it fucking takes off. It takes off. They took them somewhere else. They put them on a sound stage, and they only used them for the live shots. Everything else was pre-recorded from training. I mean, they laid this out in Capricorn. Like, they took all their training, telepathy, and all the data from when they were training, the recordings of them talking back and forth with Houston, and they set it up on a push button thing. So that way, when Houston's talking to them, they're just using because these guys didn't know that they were going to get taken out of that rocket. They didn't know that they were going to be in on a part of this. And then they got to escape, and because the rocket, I don't want to spoil it, but the rocket, coming back in, it blows up. People are like, oh, they're dead, but they're not. And then they're like, they're gonna kill us because we're dead. They can't just let us fucking run around, not dead, because And it's like, what the fuck, dude? That was like less than 10 years, less than a decade from going to the moon, right? We went, 1969 when we went to the moon? And this come out in 1978 with O.J. Simpson, which I was thinking, like, I'm allowed to like O.J. Simpson's pre-stabbing, right? Because he wasn't stabbing people while he was doing movies. He only did one stabbing. It's not like watching Jeepers Creepers, right? With the fucking pedophile that directs it, because he was a pedophile the whole time. You can't go back and watch Clown World with Sam Rockwell and be like, yeah, I love his directing because he was a fucking pedophile the whole time. OJ only murdered once, twice, same time though. At the same time, it was the same incident. So, right? Is it okay? I
understand your logic. As far as like the framing of the narrative like that, that's one of the things that they like to do is to get on top of any discourse or public sentiment that circles around what the reality of these kind of operations might be, and then put it in predictive programming stuff so that it very quickly becomes associated with the movie rather than with reality. And it's like the conflating and mixing of narratives in a way that makes it so that
It's
in our
gaslighting.
minds. Yeah, it's like a lot of different things at once. I can't even try and think of the terminology for it, because it's basically just fusing our view of reality with narrative to such an extent where the association becomes inseparable.
Yeah, that's why I'm on the thing of like nothing's real, anything's possible when it comes to these little screens and phones and shit. If you can't, if it's not in your physical reality, you know, you can't believe this shit. I mean, back in the 80s, they were already showing the technology to be able to sit in the fucking Oval Office with a mask on and a voice changer, and the president doesn't know you're a female. So you rip your mask off, right? So like even in your physical, it's tough, because Netflix will release something like Spycraft and show you that like sex espionage and shit, where people will be literally like grown to be spies, and they'll go to the full extent of marrying someone and having kids with them and shit, just like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just like the fucking movie. But back to Capricorn 1, that was 1978. How soon were people like, we didn't fucking go to the moon, dude? Was it like immediately?
I think so, probably. I mean,
Okay.
maybe even just I mean, like, you have the veneer of like public sentiment that accompanies large broadcast at any time. If we get hit with a large broadcast right now, we're going to be in that soup of assumptions for a long time, just because that's how our minds respond to being hit with anything. We get the emotions, and then it comes up, and even if you're savvy, you're still going to feel that to some degree. That's what we're like. So you got to wonder, like, how many people who are actually genuinely in the know of the specific meticulous details of what came to transpire. Fuck, maybe even they were watching the propaganda. They're like, we went to the moon, man. You know, you never know.
Dude. Yeah. That Capricorn 1, I suggested to anybody to go watch it on Tubi.
Pre-stabbing OJ movies.
Yeah, pre-stabbing OJ movies. You know, he doesn't have a lot of lines because he wasn't the best actor. So he was just like, they needed him they had that, you know, where they needed a black guy type thing, I think.
Yeah,
I think they did that back in the 70s, right? What is that called? That I can't remember the fucking term.
Token.
Equal whatever. Yeah, the token black guy, you know? Like, literally, he was like the only... His wife in the movie, she was barely black. Like, so, yeah, they just used him because he was OJ. And, you know, they needed a black guy to go to space. You know? Because you think it would have, like, really centered around the OJ character, because I would assume at that point he'd be like the first black dude going to space, and it's not even to space, it's a fucking Mars, right? And they go to Mars and they land with the same lander as they did on the moon, and it's but it's the way they show you this on Capricorn 1, the pre-stab and OJ movie, 1978. They lay it out step by step, how everything's compartmentalized. Even one dude, you know, he ran his own test on some shit, and he's like, "Hey, this ain't adding up, man. I mean, the video signal's coming in before, you know, the signal from the land. It doesn't make sense, because that means they're too close." And then they had to, you know, Clinton him. Whatever.
Don't you love how automatically from that example, anyone who's actually intelligent isn't allowed in these systems? Like, right there. That kind of just tells you everything.
Yeah. And then the gaslighting in it is like, it's crazy. This dude is friends with a reporter, right? And he mentions one thing about what he had found. He gets like one sentence out. Dude gets a drink, comes back, his buddy's missing. And they fucking, even when he goes to beating on the door of his apartment, someone else is living there. The apartment's completely changed. Even the magazines have the address things. It's like that dude never existed. So like making this dude fucking crazy as fuck, right? Because making him think he didn't know this guy and shit. It's like, God damn. Because it's hard for me to sit through a whole movie. I sat through the whole thing, like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. Like how they're laying it out here, what they did with the fucking moon landing. I mean, they are laying it out. They had 2 different control centers. The one was just people doing their fucking job, and the other control center was feeding them the fucking data. And they're obviously Tommy wasn't there to go, hey, these aren't adding up that the fucking TV's coming through, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he was, and they just fucking killed him or threw him out of a helicopter. I don't know, but
There's got to
anyway.
be like a way to shingle or layer all these different predictive programming kind of inferences and nuances of what's actually going on behind the scenes in a way in which, like, if you put this movie watching this movie through like time insignia and cryptography, then it just becomes like this hilarious interdimensional mystery science theater joke that they've just been playing on us this entire time, hoping that if you get enough fucking nerds studying film language their entire time as they're brought up by the deep state to then play the part of the saviors themselves, that they'll be like, wait a minute, this is literally just making fun of the fact that I'm watching it.
I feel like that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
saying.
they're making fun of us all the time.
Yeah,
like
it's the terrarium that we've been built in is film language to such an extent where we then go about mirroring and reflecting it in our internal fucking narratives. It's surreal.
Yeah, and like you watch them, like the White House press shit. This example was when the satellite balloons came over. And they just wouldn't answer what the fuck it was. They just object, it's unidentified. It could be this, it could be that.
Yeah, that's a
Fell in the
trial
water,
run.
Nice.
No, that's a trial run for continuity of government, because it defaults to their jurisdiction in essence when there's any kind of thing like that. So if they're shuffling around like literally trial balloon exposures of borderline disclosure, then like it's one of those things where it's almost like prepping for psyops later. They do like the soft versions first.
Yeah, and the continuity of government thing, I mean, that comes with any national emergency, right? The COG. And I mean, Trump signed that when we were in COG there, March 14th, 2020, when he come out and he fucking said, yo, we're under a national emergency. They even came out and said, HIPAA, some of your HIPAA rights are suspended for the moment.
Man,
a lot of people miss that part because they never covered that part. They only covered like Trump shooting up bleach or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's such a surreal thing because I mean, you can go back to like the National Defense Authorization Act, and in essence, you could argue that the entirety of your rights have already been under suspension since that was implemented. And then you can go earlier than that and find excuses that are similar. And if you look at the United Nations, what their language is, they reserve the right to remove your rights at any time. So there are all these just think tanks and policy initiatives and sinister, underhanded ways of claiming that you're a slave any fucking time they want.
Yeah, and that's like spell casting shit, right? All their legalese and their laws and their bullshit. I mean, that is like spell casting slave shit. Like you're saying. I mean, because we know they love their occult and their black magic shit. And that's basically what they use the laws for against us.
Yeah.
And since silence is compliance. So
that's the karmic confinement.
Yeah. We don't do anything about it. I mean, they just laugh. And then they come back to the podium like, oh, by the way, it wasn't aliens. And then they walk away, That's literally what that first lesbian black White House press secretary, I don't know her name is, KJP. She literally had to come back to the podium and go, hey, it wasn't aliens. Like the conspiracy guys say. And the whole press pool, they all laughed and everybody laughed. And they had a great laugh about it. Like that Capricorn. The reason they had to do what they do is because they needed that money. They needed that money. 24 billion was spent on this. We need that goddamn money. Like, yeah, that's we've been saying that. Apparently, they've literally been saying that since that time. They made movies about it and everything. They told us about it.
This was 78. So is this after Nixon defunded the space program and in essence went dark? Because that's sort of just like an inference to money laundering in and of itself.
Yeah, NASA.
Yeah.
Because NASA don't do anything. NASA only like subcontracts everything out.
That's what I was going to say. They're military contractors for something like 80% or more of what they do. So they're basically just a front in the scientific realm, and they're more to do with like moving us towards the transhumanist future. You know, it's like the NASA is Hebrew for deceive. So it's like there are all these different layers that come into it insofar as what we've been led to believe.
Yeah, dude. And it's yeah. That Capricorn I just got done watching it just a little bit ago, right before dinner. And even the Capricorn, I mean, that's the goat fish thing, right? I mean, that's the horned one or whatever. Another horny thing. Is that right? The Capricorn's the goat fish thing?
Is it? I don't know. Astrology is still one of my weak spots that I'm going to have to be studying more, because I have to study well in advance for the shows that I do, which are encapsulative overviews of any given like subject within the truth movement. Mm-hmm. So the 9th episode, I start to go into the occult and non-materialist and like all of the sorcery and shit that we're actually up against behind the scenes of the clown world veneer that everybody takes at face value.
Yeah, people need to check out your episodes. Looks like you put quite a bit of time into them. You got
man. That's what it is. It's like, because like we were just discussing, it's like we've all been entrained, but also prepared in a way in which we're able to entertain broader concepts. So the entraining technique simultaneously expands our minds so that we can be receptive to the kind of psyops that they want to unload on us later on, you know? But at the exact same time as it being an indoctrinative technique, you can also use it as a communicative language. So it becomes quite a profound tool and skill set that we've all been acclimated to. And you could just show someone like really quickly edited memes and they'll be like, fuck yeah, I understood like 50 different things. You show that to someone who's like 70 or 80, they're like, what the fuck just happened? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and like the cognitive dissonance of people and is I don't know. I don't know, man. There's sometimes where I get pretty pessimistic. Is that the word?
Bro, I hear you, man. Like, holy fuck. I'm always trying to figure out what the fuck is it that is actually the discrepancy between those of us who have been able to entertain these premises as a reality, which they are. It gets mixed with our theories. That's true, because there's always that realm. But like, it's cognitive dissonance. But I'm wondering, and I posted this on Twitter at one point. It's like, does anyone feel like there's literally an energetic buffer between us and people who just aren't able to get it? And that like, no matter what you say, you can't get through that energetic buffer. It's like beyond cognitive dissonance. Maybe it's like literally something that's, I don't know, in the air or in the ether, or a resonant harmonics, or I don't have the necessarily correct language sets for it, but it feels like they're on a cavernous divide that cannot be reached, no fucking matter what, you know? I don't know if that's cognitive dissonance.
Like their brain barrier is very thick.
Yeah.
And everything bounces off of it except for like the dumb shit. I can't say that. But there's people who like, what drives me nuts is like, I've been, soapboxing or whatever, to friends and family and all that shit for almost 20 fucking years. Well, fuck. I mean, 2005, damn near 20 years now. And people, you're crazy. And then like TikTok comes out. Yeah. And then there are all these conspiracies on TikTok, and people are like, that I tell these, I've already told you in fucking detail, and you just thought I was retarded. And then some dude you don't know on TikTok made a funny video for fucking 90 seconds.
So that could actually be illustrative of what I'm trying to describe here, because if you think of what the screens that we're getting hit with, that changes your brain waves so that you're more in a sleep-like state and you're more receptive to that kind of information. So it literally could be that people are dialed into only being able to receive information when it's a part of the program. And that's sort of what I mean in the concept of the alternative media being created as a juxtapositive kind of like mirror for the mainstream, because they like hand it off to us in a way in which it's then our responsibility to broadcast this shit. Because then once conspiracy goes mainstream, all the people who really understand the nuance of the truth, they almost fall behind whoever the fuck is able to cash in on going along with whatever like the declared story is, you know? So it's like a breadcrumb trail that we've been fed over the past 50 or 60 fucking years. It's nuts.
Yeah, man, that video I streamed earlier about with that CIA interview, that was 1980, and he was talking about just in the last 30 years of that time. I mean, it was as soon as the CIA was created as a propaganda and mass manipulation tool and just basically do whatever the fuck they want, man.
Well, that's true, but I also see them as a sort of almost a honeypot for the narrative that they want coming out. It's like cranberry sauce, man. It's once you take the can, that it's the shape that you want it, and that it's like that. And it's also there as a front organization to hide like the other kind of associative entities, like National Reconnaissance Office. You know, that's like the highest budget when you get into it. The NSA, all these different kind of peripheral things. It's like the fusion centers that were created, they didn't have an oversight. So at a certain point, it's like, where the fuck is all of this information going? Because we have all been entrained to think of it as if it's coming from a particular place, when that's just like the cranberry sauce mold. What's actually creating the can, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Bringing up and you mentioned those fusion centers. It always makes me think back. Like, I worked with a dude who claimed to be was SEAL Team 5.
Yeah.
And he was out of the Navy. He was and he was working as a mechanic, and he kind of just popped up at this place I was working at, but just popped up out of nowhere, started like befriending me and shit. Had worked there way longer than I did. I didn't even like, I had already worked there for a couple months. And then all of a sudden he's like, just boop, hey, what's up, dude? You like, conspiracies or whatever? And even I started talking to him about fusion centers, and it was shortly after that when his schedule changed, and then I had never seen him anymore. Like that, the building I was working in, I wish I still had this thing. I think I told this on AM Wake Up once, but
yeah, I was on the show with you. Yeah, you did.
Were you when the internet started? Yeah, man, I just feel like there was something up with that whole fucking thing. The way that dude led me right into a furnace that was, dude, it was like 40 something years that they burned this shit, and you open it and a perfect decommissioned manual from 1960 something is fucking just laying there.
Yeah, man. So this is the level when you start to get into the mystery school shit. And they operate in like 100, 200 year margins, chunks of time. And it's through like percolations that they either have their agents or various different associatives, be they consciously aware of it or not, actively participating in those ideological underpinnings. And it's one of those things where it's so far removed from the way in which we've been taught to view things that even the discussion of it seems fucking crazy. Because it's like, who the fuck perceives time that way? But then you understand that time is nonlinear, and you start to understand that the advancement of technology and its entwinement with various different forces in nature would make them privy to keynote kind of emergences of significance that they could then dovetail with an accent of their discretion. So in essence, we're just playing into their hand no matter what we do, you know?
Yeah. Someone, I seen this tweet, or it was like a meme or something, where someone was talking about like, what if we're only like in the third step of the genocide part into 2030, that they've put so much energy to get us to this point, and they've done such a fucking good job, and then they're going to fuck it up.
Ooh.
Like,
no, man, that's what I'm saying. It's the snake shedding its skin so that it can, and that's what I was talking about. Like before, it's like the illusion of hope. That's a part of the torturing process. And so it's not that these things won't necessarily work out in a way that can better us in a variety of different ways. It's that you really have to get to the root of what's transpiring in a metaphysical capacity. And to speak to that, it's really, really simple. It's freedom versus slavery, you know?
Yeah. The whole we reset before they reset it type thing of and the whole digital thing and how that's swooping in here. I mean, that WorldCoin being released, people getting in line to set up an appointment to go have your retinas fucking scanned. Like, God damn, dude. People stood in line to get swabs shoved into their brains for a year and a half.
Dude, you got to wonder what, like, did they, to a certain extent, lace the PCR test swabs or something to that effect as an introductory metric of future compliance? You know, and it could literally be the things where
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
If we're looking at
mean,
nanotech or anything in that realm, it's like, okay, what have they already built around us or in us, unbeknownst to us?
You know, it's when COVID started, and then learning about Charles Lieber right at the beginning of it, his Harvard work, his nanotech research, his laboratory in Wuhan, then finding out about the magnetoprotein, which they created back. I mean, they announced it back in like 2016. That alone is like, what? You have something that you can control the emotions and the movements of mice after you inject this. And it's got to be a viral vector vaccine, VVV 666. But that's what the old COVID vaccine is, viral vectors, the mRNAs. So, like, dude, it's the magnetoprotein.
And then
I mean,
to like add to that, then it had like, I think it was luciferase. It was something like
yep.
points, and which is like, it's the chemical in the firefly's butt that makes it illuminate. But I don't remember the exact metric, but it was either like 33 or 66 or something to the effect of aligning with that numerology.
Yeah, and like when that stuff first come out about like the luciferase, even the shit. Now I just lost the word. The little carbon, the nanotube fucking robot things. When that stuff was coming out, I kind of stayed away from that. Same with like the 5G shit, where it was like, oh, the 5G is gonna do this and that. I just kind of stayed away from that. But now, like, it's like God, what are those fucking nanotubes? It's not. It's whatever the black goo's supposed to be. Now I just fucking lie. The word is like right there. It starts with the fucking C. Fuck.
Oh, I keep thinking like graphene or graphene oxide or something like
Graphene oxide.
Yeah.
So they said, those were conspiracies. I mean, they had their reader fucking facts and Snopes, saying there's no graphene oxide in these fucking mRNAs, blah, blah, blah. Even though we were seeing blood samples, people were showing blood samples, doctors were showing blood samples, embalmers are showing blood samples with these specs in it. But then, what was it? 3 weeks ago? It's hard. Time is crazy now. It might have been a month ago or whatever. When that Pfizer document come out, you click on it, you go to like page 8, you go down to like the third paragraph, and it's right there. It says graphene oxide right in the Pfizer handout that they handed out.
Oh, no, dude, I'm so on board with you here. It's like I got to throw a curveball at the entire concept, and it's this. It's carte blanche for human experimentation, which means that what they would do is they try dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of different, very specific, minutiae kind of things, because it corresponds with your digital medical records. So that's like, once again, they can just go out and experiment with all this. If you understand the power of the placebo effect, a good to get into this is the book A Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And at the end of it, he gives the example that there were people who were going for knee surgery who were told they were going to get knee surgery. They did the incisions. They told them that they got it. They put them under anesthesia. And 9 people who did not get knee surgery fucking healed as a result of simply being told. So the question then becomes, to what degree is this actually what's going on? To what degree is it a variety of different things? And to what degree is it tapping into our raw power of suggestion to then fall into whatever story they tell us? That's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's layers. It's like it's a mass Munchausen syndrome, right? And then people that are basically placeboing, even the ones that, I'm sick, even the getting sick is placeboed.
Yep.
I mean, it's the COVID thing was a mass beta test for like everything. I mean, dude, when they released that fucking movie Songbird,
Yeah.
that's about COVID-23 or some shit like that. Like, dude, everything was shut down. Like, how the fuck did they film that movie? Like, and people don't think about that. Like, it was already shut. Like, that movie was already filmed. Like, they could
Maybe.
tell us that they filmed it like 6 months into COVID. They got like whatever to film Songbird. But dude, that movie had to have been done before COVID.
Oh, I agree that the script and the idea for predictive programming almost certainly was. But it's like, it's also, if you get into like the nature of nature, there is that whole like art reflects reality dynamic. And to a certain extent, what comes to appear as a byproduct of us all thinking the same thing at any given time. And this is like really, when you get down to it, is like how much of this is just controlling the paradigm of how fucking powerful our consciousness is. Because it's like, you know, astral projection across the universe, like quantum entanglement. You can literally become like, not like right now where we're at, but if we move in that direction, it becomes like X-Men level shit. And that's not where we're at right now. But if we're able to move past kind of the pressure cooker that they've put on us, what the fuck emerges from that, and what are the potential dangers of it, you know? So it's like, I see all of this as literally just a cap for human consciousness.
Yeah, to keep us held down and enslaved. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the consciousness, anything's like possible. That's why I just think like nothing's real, anything's possible. Even, you know, I that mainly goes for the black screens and stuff, but when you think about the astral projection, even like time travel and stuff, I was just talking to my nephew about this. Like, I don't think you can go back in time physically, but you can project back. There's a way to be able to project back. You can't interact with it. You can project back, and you can watch it. You can observe what happened then. Only you can go to the future, but then you can't come back. You
So
know,
that's a Akashic level. That's Akashic record level shit. That's when you begin to be able to engage with what basically all of time is, kind of like a big block of cheese. And then it becomes like, what are your prerequisite of ascension in order to be able to engage with that shit in which you're not projecting on it? You know, is it the reality, or is it your interpretive lens of that reality entrenched within the ignorance that you still dwell in? You know, so it's kind of like one of those things where it isn't just set in stone. It's also partly our observation of that stone and our interpretation of the hieroglyphs of the etching of time.
Yeah, like I said, very smart, this dude. Like, it's deep shit there. I'm trying to keep up with that one. Yeah. Time is is one. I remember I was tripping once with a buddy, and it's when I was like, realized that we're constricted only by clocks. You know, if we didn't have like the man-made clocks, and all we had was the sun comes up, the sun goes down, you'd live like a more fulfilling type life, right? Because you wouldn't be constrained to this rushed 9 to 5. I'm in a hurry now. I got to get this done. You just naturally live.
Yeah.
And there's some quote, I don't know how fucking real it is, about some old Mayan saying, you know, that was the destruction of man in itself, was the invention of the physical clock. Even though they were like extremely amazing timekeepers, but they didn't have clocks. They didn't have like, you know, fucking, you gotta go to work from here to here. You just did your thing, and you went out and you savaged people or whatever they did back then. And
that's a beautiful metaphor for the idea of what it does to the structuring of our lives and our felt sense of fulfillment when you move from something that is qualitative and make it quantitative. You know, it's like, aren't we supposed to just be living for the sake of joy and love and shit? And be like, no, start counting your love. God damn it.
yeah, start counting the dude. They have this. I remember a couple years ago they had this calendar that they were advertising. I remember seeing the ads on Facebook. Might have even seen it on the TV. This calendar that basically is, I think it might be 88 days or 88 years worth of weeks. I think it is. So it's a calendar. I don't know how many weeks that is. It seems like a lot of weeks until you put it on a calendar, and then you mark out how many weeks you're already been alive, and you're already halfway through your fucking average lifespan, and you only have this much. And they're selling this to people so you can mark off every fucking you're closer to death date. It's fucked up, dude. It's like, what? Why would anybody fucking want that thing, man? Why would anybody? I hate going on Netflix and seeing like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover and be like, oh, I remember that like yesterday. And it's like 1991. What the fuck? I'm going to die. Holy shit. Netflix is the fucking worst for that. Get on there and you see some covers and you're like, God damn, that movie is so fucking awesome. I remember watching it just yesterday, man. It's like 25 years. What the fuck? What?
Yeah, man.
Fucked up. Fucked up, man. Time. Yeah, don't get one of those calendars. I think they're done selling those. I think people probably wrote in and was like, this is fucking stupid. This is really morbid. And
Well, it's
commercial showed it given it to their grandma and shit. Like you give it to your grandma, the whole fucking calendar is already X'd out. Like there's like one line of weeks at the bottom, dude. My grandma's calendar is completely X'd out. She's fucking 95 years old. The entire calendar is completely X'd out. She's past.
Dude, but
the
think of
calendar.
the satisfaction you're going to get putting the final X on it at her funeral. You know, it's like X, and that's where we're at. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I have a terrible sense of humor. I love your grandma. I hope she lives forever.
Oh, she will. She will. But yeah,
it's like,
it's fucked up, man. No, I mean, the whole thing of constricting our time and coming up with shit like that is like, what the
right.
fuck?
So because the more in which we operate within the notion of linear time, counting it all the time, the more in which it reminds us of that paradigm. And then we just become like a reliable dime in a slot that we just keep going into over and over. Like that's all we got. You know, everything is to try and keep us in that left brain kind of hemisphere sort of thing, rather than coming to a point of equilibrium between the two. And in that kind of like middle path point of view, we're able to transcend beyond just like me and you all the way to everyone. And that's like, if you think of that like quantum leap shotgun shit that we can hit really hard if we want to, it's like, that's fucking dangerous potentially to the people who are doing it as much to the people who are supervising it. So it's one of those things where it's like they're playing the role of God, keeping everyone in our little pods so that we don't wake up too fast and ruin it all. You know, so in one sense, I can almost understand the idea of them treating us like house pets, because what the fuck would we do if we were just able to break out of the house? You know, what would even fucking happen there?
Yeah, I guess fuck like rabbits and finally hit that 8 billion people.
Yeah, but dude, even then, when you come to it, the people who are counting the number of people on Earth are the fucking like Rockefeller. So it's the same people who are trying to kill everybody. It's like, oh yeah, no, we lost 1 billion people. They just like a calculator.
Yeah, but yeah, those same people are the ones telling us that we're overcrowded and shit when we're not overcrowded at all. You know,
Zero overcrowded.
This fucking gaslight. Like, dude, like we have wars like every fucking 10 years. Like just America getting into shit and really bloody shit, not to mention all the shit that's happening in the Middle East, right? Everywhere else, China was eating their children. Like in the fucking late 50s, they had a famine and they were fucking eating their kids and selling their fucking kids. And I'm supposed to believe there's 8 billion motherfuckers on here? Yes. A lot of poor people have lots of fucking kids. And the people down the road from me, those fucking pedophile people. What are those people? The governor, whatever the fuck. He wanted to be a governor. Now I can't remember his fucking name. The Duggars. Ugh. But even with all those people, like 8 billion people, get the fuck out of here. Like I seen a thing with the catacombs, you know, and it's like, holy shit. They're saying like 6 million fucking people are in the bones in the catacombs. Like, yeah, man. I mean, like there's so many wars, famine, people are starving, fucking homeless are dying. I mean, the opioids, the fucking heart attacks, the fucking poisonings. They're like, how the fuck are we getting the fucking, you know, there's more. There's no, I mean, even Elon Musk and them, they're like, there's more people dying than being fucking born. We keep telling the stats. We keep showing you this shit. We've been showing this for 10 fucking years. You know, at least being into the mainstream media of, hey, sperm counts are down. You guys ain't having kids. You know, it's fine though. You'll be fine. Don't worry. It'll be great. You know, just have less of them. And, you know, China had the 1-child policy. How the fuck does China have billions of people, and they forced everybody to have one fucking kid,
Okay,
and they were eating them 60 years ago.
On that note, China is fucked as a country. They're like moving towards population collapse because of the one-child policy kind of thing. So they're really fucked if you get into like the various different ways in which the CCP and they lie about everything.
There's no fucking
it's
billion people
but like, yeah, everything you were saying, it's like I'm similar points of reflection and question, and it's so fucked. And I honestly think we're basically building to the point wherein they live. The thing that we're going to be looking at normally on the signs that say marry and reproduce, I think we're going to like have to put on glasses to see things like the other way. You know, it's like it's switching. Everything that was previously you could only see with glasses is starting to be printed on actual fucking billboards now.
Yeah, they're coming to the light, right? It says that in Revelation, something that the darkness will be brought to the light or whatever. Well, that's Johnny Cash, but you get what I'm saying. They say that
there's a pale horse in there somewhere. Yeah.
There was something. Oh yeah, I seen the scorpion in that fucking Capricorn fucking movie, and it reminded me of the backbiter thing. Anyways, I don't want to lose my train of thought. In Revelations, they say that these dark, the evil is gonna they'll just do it in the light. They'll do their bidding right in the light. That's where we're at.
Yeah,
that's where we're at. Like, you don't have to believe in the Bible. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in Satan. You don't have to fucking believe in anything. You be atheist all you want. But the people that run this shit, the people that are fucking like controlling what is happening to us, they totally believe it. They believe all of it. Like, it's what drives me nuts. Like, my buddy, I always talk about my buddy, and like, I've known this guy for over 20 years and try to talk to him about this occult shit. He's like, I don't fucking care. It's whatever, man. How the hell is me graduating being in some ritual thing? And it's like, explain every piece of it, and it's like, no, it's not. I don't believe in it. Like, dude, they've been doing it for thousands of years. These same fucking you celebrate Christmas. You're literally doing rituals all the fucking time. You'll be like, oh man, I gotta go to my parents because of Christmas. We go you got that ritual that you've been doing your whole fucking life. And if you look at go look at that ritual itself.
Okay. You're spot on. I think ultimately what it is the reason that they believe it as strongly as they do is not necessarily because it's absolutely true, but because if they all adhere to the same script, then they're all able to strike the same poses, know the lines they're supposed to say, the lines they're not supposed to cross, and then it keeps them backstage. So that's in essence why they are so adverse to the idea of us beginning to write our own scripts that sidestep or move outside of that, because then it starts to throw off their control of what we regard as the Matrix, So it's like literally the storytelling apparatus that they share amongst themselves, encoded in the different lenses of their perceptual kind of like framing of things. It's like it comes down to the symbolism, which is derived from the numerology, which is inherent to nature. So it's like there are certain things that are just actually objectively there, which is natural law. And then that abides to all of us and our moral kind of habits. And so that's what they're trying to inhibit, It's like if you clear across everything, it literally all comes down to morality. And that's what I mean when I describe it as freedom versus slavery.
Yep. Yeah, like when it's this right and wrong, moral and lawful. We get into this lawful and moral type thing. And it's like, you'll have these dudes that I'm not going to mention any names of these podcaster people, but I've heard like where they're saying, like, talking about their buddies who, are getting accused of raping people and shit. And they're like, well, I mean, in other, states, like 17's the consent. So like, and it's like, now you're looking at like, I mean, morally, yeah, legally, but like fucking morally, like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, that's where like these legalese and the laws and shit is this spellbinding bullshit, right? Because it takes away your fucking morals and like, oh, well, the law says it's okay. So, I mean, like, then it's got to be okay then. Like,
dude, and they're even going further than that right now, because if you look at the emergence of technocracy, they're using something that's called reactive law. So that's when they use social pressure and, in essence, the threats of worse outcomes later on in order to corral everyone into accepting things prematurely. So it's the evasion of laws to create a leverage mechanism that make people go along with the violation of the law. It's fucking insane.
Yep. During COVID, I worked for a company. It was like a pretty good company, got paid pretty good just to kind of stand around, do nothing, right? It was an awesome fucking get there at one time in the morning, you leave the same time every day, and you make good money. But then they come, I get this fucking paper. It says, hey, so we're in accordance with the law when it comes. We need to know if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated before the next. It's like, what? Wait, wait, you're illegally fucking asking me my medical shit so I can make you compliant with a law that doesn't exist right now? Like, what the fuck? I don't think so. And I left. Now, everybody, I had been telling everybody it was coming, when I'd started there, like April of 21 or something, I think. And so COVID had already been running for a while. And I going in, the vaccine had started rolling out and shit. And I was like, dude, this is a big company. They're going to be sending out shit, fucking telling you got to get, oh, no, they're not. No, they're not. No. And then we get this letter like, oh, so we can be up and up with the law. We need you to break the, we're breaking the law by asking you your fucking medical shit, but help us out for something that when I left, I said, this is not going to fucking hold up. This is retarded. Like, so I'm out of here. Because they're like, what could we do? Could we give you more money? No, if you're pushing a vaccine policy, you can't change that. And I'm not fucking hanging out for it. So peace. I don't give a fuck if you give me fucking $100 an hour. I don't give a fuck how much money you want to fucking pay me. Peace. I'm out.
Yeah,
bitch.
It literally does amount to selling your soul. And the funny thing is that people sell out often and they sell out cheap. It's like $5. It's like, I'll take it.
A burger. I wish I had that clip up right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's brutal. Like lap dances, I think that's what got most people.
Oh my god, I forgot about the lap dances. That was close. It almost got me. If I would have been in Detroit, they might have got me on the fucking lap.
Dude, the brutal thing is, like, I remember is like they had vaccine things outside of concerts. They jab you and then you could run in. But by their own logic, it took 2 weeks to make it so that it was something. So it's like none of this at any point ever makes any sense at all.
Never made sense, but to people it made total sense, and they were willing to cut off friendships, family, because it made total sense to them. They were able to, like, yeah, I mean, it's next to the blue checkmark thing. It's like one of the greatest psyops.
Yeah,
it is the greatest. COVID has been the greatest psyop, and like a reverse too, because there's, I mean, awakenings. There wasn't like no great awakening, but there was people that, they caught on to some of that fucking Q shit and then got convoluted with other bullshit. But like, there was some of the shit that they were able to see because they locked everybody down, and then everybody's sitting on their fucking internet the whole fucking time. Zoom stock flies up. I remember when we got locked down and my wife's saying, we use Zoom. I didn't even know what fucking Zoom was. I used to sing in a band and shit, right? And I play guitar and stuff. And Zoom, they make effects pedals. And I was like, why the fuck? Because she works at this fucking one, mega corporation. And I'm like, why the fuck would you guys have like Zoom? What the fuck? And then it turns out it was like, it was Zoom. We should all invested at the time. We would have fucking known. We'd all cashed in.
No, man, it's a trip. I'm still trying to figure out all the specific various different details of whatever the fuck is going on in our ancient history. It's like Atlantis being a real thing, very likely it being an equivalent, if not vastly superior technological society. All these various different emergences of whatever the fuck, who the hell knows at this goddamn point. And it's just like, and I think that's basically what it is. It's priming us for that degree of open-mindedness for whatever they then put on stage before us. So it's like, I don't even want to reach a point where I necessarily understand more, because then I'm going to fucking look at the goddamn thing walking to my front door.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, holding us down, like humans at their full potential can be great things, but like, the assholes obviously must outweigh, the non-assholes. And we've already ran this cycle, and they know, maybe they do know that the fucking assholes and they're gonna fucking ruin everything for them, you know. And the ones that will be good, it's like would be us. We'd be the ones that would fucking be able to, you know, transcend because we're already open to shit like that. You know, we're open minded to it. But they definitely don't want that shit, you know.
Then it gets into like all kinds of uncomfortable things, like the degree to which we have conflated morality with stuff that we find really gross. If you think about subjective morality, it's basically like if you cross an invisible line and then you're in a different country, it's like, oh, you can't drink alcohol here. That's really gross. So it's immoral. But it's like, that's not how fucking morality works, man. It's like, it's an objective standard. I don't care what you think is really gross. You can think eating a jar of mayonnaise is gross. You can't fucking murder someone for it. So because we think stuff is so gross, we're willing to be immoral. You know, it's like we have to separate those things.
Yeah. Yeah, so the assholes outweigh the You're right. Looking at the history and stuff and the ancient stuff, have you gotten into like the Bach saga?
Tell me specifically what you mean.
Okay, the Bach saga, I guess, is like the story of like Asgard. I think it is. I need to have Andy back on, but it's basically, it seems like this is where everything starts. Let me grab my book here because they had the Alpharnus Beta, right? So this was their alphabet, and basically their alphabet is, you know, you know, s, d. It's A, B, C, D, but it's more of like sang, right? Because the way we speak and the way we talk. And then when you look into their etymologies and stuff, because this is a oral history that's been handed down for, I mean, they're claiming 10,000 plus years, right? So Eeyore Bach was the last of the Bach family. And when his mother died, and his sister she had already passed away, but when his mother died, that was back in like 1985, I think. That was when he was allowed to he was the last one of this lineage that's supposed to be 10 plus thousand years. Basically, they were before the Ice Age, right? They got trapped under the ice, so to speak. They're these ones. When you go into the ancient, like the Aztecs and other ancient cultures, and they talk about, you know, I think it was the Aztecs talking about there was supposed to be this blonde-haired, blue-eyed deity or person that helped them with their technology and their knowledge, and he was supposed to come back, and that's when the Spaniards came and they fucked them all up or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
My mind's jumping to a lot of different things. So
yeah, I'm all over the place, dude. Welcome to the Rantcast.
Well, okay. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, in essence, what I have a tendency to refer to are anthroposophy and theosophical society, because a lot of people talk about Blavatsky from the Judeo-Christian lens and then shit talking her because she's trying to correct our interpretation of what the Luciferian impulse is. So they think it's like the theosophical society is worshiping Lucifer. It's not what it is. It's more like how the swastika got bastardized and then we all think of it differently. Dark Luciferian, that shit's like pure evil. Same deal with like Satanism. That's all about the inversion principle. But when you get into the sort of like charts of our emergence and our materialization, or you can think of it in a different language set as initial projections into whatever the fuck material matter is. So it's like you're kind of like figuring out how to have things emerge in a way in which they're then consistent with their surroundings, because the earth is itself an organism and we're sort of like the cells of that. So you can think of something that would be like the emergence of a baby to what then becomes an adult. But prior to that, you're also watching it go from being a fucking sperm and an egg, which doesn't seem to look anything like us. So there are all these sort of kind of like evolutions that are conjoined with our consciousness, which is itself conjoined with material matter. So when you begin to get into that shit, that's when you start to look at like, well, every primal or not primal, ancient kind of civilization has a fall mythology, the idea that we literally fell into existence. And that's when you start to think of, well, doesn't that mean that we could potentially be, in essence, the dreams of angels, or the materialization of something infinitely beyond the way in which we've come to view our very existence or our place as souls? And so it begins to get into that kind of thing, and sort of the time frame that you're introducing with the Bach notion, which if you look at the anthropology of it, it's correct, because there is like very, very profound significance to the meanings of the words that we say. It's like if you confuse a bicycle and like a plate of like windshield glass or something, and then you go out for a bike ride and you smash your face through a fucking windshield. It's like, that's a pretty different thing. So there is like that inherent effect that comes with the words that we use, which then is attributed to the etymology. And then you go further back from that, it literally is the things that we're singing. That's the whole singing ape theory. So all that ties together to what was a very advanced spiritual civilization that understood a few different things. The motions that we do, like the words that we say, are profound insofar as what comes to emerge in our collective reality. And to tie that into like occult practices, one of the things they do in the esoteric is that they'd have a lot of their rituals around dams, because it's that flow of water that then influences and affects them, because we're primarily water and electricity. What the fuck are dams? You know, so it's that microcosm, macrocosm entwinement in the broader expanse of time, once again, all to keep us within that limited glass paradigm. It's fucking crazy.
It is. Yeah, I mean the damn thing in the current the flow, I mean that makes me think of the monetary system and the banks, the flow currency. I mean that also attributes to energy. Energy is a currency and it flows, and it's yeah, I mean it's on the same thing. Like the Bach Saga thing, I butchered. I mean Andy from the Deep Share, he knows way more on it, and Jim Chestner, he passed away I think last year or the year before, and he is from America, but he spent years and years and years with Eeyore, learning the story, learning the etymologies, learning everything. So when you watch him speak about it, I mean, it starts clicking, because when you're talking about like the like the white and the dark Lucifer, we'll say, right? Like white and the dark magic or whatever, if that's what you'd want to, I don't know. You know, because that's what it is, right? I mean, there's dark magic and there's light magic, right?
Well, yeah, so I can describe it this way. I've heard the version that there's no such thing as good magic. There's basically only telling the truth. And I can understand that perspective. So that but then you could also describe it in a different way. And this is how Mark Passio describes it. It's that basically magic is manipulation or engaging in a way in which it influences and affects things on behalf of the higher will, whereby sorcery is influencing and engaging and affecting things in accordance with the lower will. So it's, are we doing it for ourselves as an individual or to keep power for ourselves, or are we doing it on a larger scale in alignment with God? That's the difference.
Yeah, see, and like the past, it's been 15 years or so is when I got into, like, I was really big into Planet X and Nibiru and the Anunnaki and the Sumerians, and then leads me into Saturn and all that, the Saturn worship and the cube worship and all that shit. And it's like, man, there's this inversion. Like everything that I'm looking at is pretty dark, right? And it's like, where did it invert from? And there was always like this lost piece. And then into the Bach Saga, it's like, oh shit, there it is right there. Because the Bach Saga seems to be like the beginning of like paganism, right? Udin Ma was the sun, right? That's what they worship, the sun, because the sun gave him light, gave him life, gave him, like, I mean, that's, without the sun, we fucking die, right? So they worship the sun. They worship that light. That's the good light, the sun, right? I mean, that's what keeps us alive. That's what gives us lives. That keeps us nourished, keeps us, without it, we're dead. It's darkness. So they worship the sun, and they yeah, I mean, when you're talking about like the moral thing and this fucking line that's just an imaginary line, like a border, the Bach Saga, there's parts in it where it gets really fucking weird, right? And that's where people probably shut down, because they were in to, like, I guess, retention, right? As far as like saving your seed, so to speak. Only
Kundalini.
for, what's that?
It's Kundalini. So it's like, it's various different methodology, because if you look, it's actually ridiculously powerful. If you get to the root of how a lot of the shit works, it's sex magic. It's fucking insane.
Yep. And well, they had a rite of passage for boys at 7, where this is where yoga began, I guess, because they would teach these kids how to succeed, right? So they would succeed.
How to succeed. Give head to get head. That's how you succeed.
Yeah, but they're not sucking it out of anybody but themselves. They're
Okay.
sucking their own seed, right? So they retain it. They're swallowing their own seed. So they succeed. It's fucking crazy. I'm telling you right now, because
No.
their Adam and Eve story, Bach Saga's Adam and Eve story,
Yeah.
is a goat and a monkey, right?
Oh man.
Listen, this goat and this monkey, they had Frey and Freya, right?
Okay.
That's where you get Friday from, right? Frey or Freya. Now, when the sperm enters the egg and the cells divide, it becomes a what? A zygote, right? Zygote. We call our kids what? Or I mean, our children kids. Kids are, we call goat babies kids, right?
I don't know. I don't hang out with a lot of goats, but good to know.
Ask Owen Benjamin. He knows. The goats are kids. Baby goats are kids,
Okay.
right? So you can grow up, right? And you could be a what? A black sheep, right? Or you can be a scapegoat.
Okay.
Is this
No, like it's interesting when you play with the words, and that's green language. What does something inherently mean, and what springs to mind when something's said to you? So I understand that. I think that this entire expanse that we're sort of dabbling in is the kind of thing that they want us to pontificate and extrapolate from, to in essence commandeer the human origin story. And I think that, like, you used to be into the Anunnaki and that whole Zachariah Sitchins and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's like I see that as trying to place an emphasis on bloodlines rather than trying to place an emphasis on reincarnation. And so it's one of those things where they're trying to double down on the materialist realm.
with the Bach Saga stuff?
No, not necessarily that. I'm talking about Anunnaki.
Oh, okay. What expand on that a bit.
So basically, they want us to believe right now that either in a materialist lens that we're descended from apes, or in like the alien fucking ape Anunnaki kind of like origin story that they created the species. I don't dispute that they probably fucked with us on a few different occasions. If you think of the idea of the Greys, they've been literally fucking us and taken away to try and create hybrids and shit. But when it comes to like the actual origins of the spiritual entwinement with material matter and the expanse of consciousness, that's something that actually is divine. So anything that separates you from the notion that you materialized over time, like in association with the earth as it came to develop, sort of bastardizes and diminishes the overall scope and significance of man. It makes it so that we're basically just a byproduct of aliens rather than something that's divine, you know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And the Zachariah Sitchin thing, I mean, it's come out that he was, I mean, it's debated, or he was a fraud.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Terrible translation.
Read that shit. Except AI now, apparently.
No, that's one of the things. And that's what I'm saying. So they've been seeding these various different origin stories going in polar opposite directions. That overlaps with the mystery schools. And it's the inversion principle of the people who are just trying to jerk off and fuck their kids and sacrifice them and all this really sick, crazy shit that they're trying to indoctrinate all of us into so that we get off on it. And it's the introductory metrics of trying to get us there. And it's like, it's so far beyond what the conversation normally is. You'll meet people and it's just like, so do you like waffles? You know, it's like, it's how about strawberries on top? That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's the it's fun. It reminds me of this old man who would sit in the shack and just watch us load, and so he could write down the loads and keep track of them, so he wasn't getting ripped off. And like every time I'd go in the shack, he's just sitting in there, and all I could do is go like, "Huh? It's not raining, huh?" Like, nope. And one day he told me this story. He goes, you know, they say when you see a turtle crossing the road, it's going to rain. And I'm like, what road? He's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, just any road? Because they're fucking crossing the road all the time. Like, I'm like, wait, like, he's like, man, I never even thought of that. But now he's got me. Every time I fucking see a turtle, I think of him going, "It's gonna rain," and it's like, but yeah, kind of like
That's the power of suggestion, man.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have box turtles that are constantly fucking crossing the road, and I'm swerving around. I'm trying not to fucking kill box turtles the best I can. And all I can think of is him talking. I mean, is that the turtle? Is that the turtle? Is this the road that the rain thing? Like, who came up with that? Now I'm completely off. Anyways, the turtle has so many spots on his back, and it correlates with the dates and the months. Because we had 13 months. Anyways, I was trying to segue the turtle into the occult shit.
I don't know, man. I don't even fucking know. I keep trying to study it all and to pin it down and to figure it out, but then ultimately it just becomes so crazy that it's like you got to come back to something that you can communicate with other people. And that's sort of where we're at, is the crux of communication. And that's why I keep trying to describe things according to language sets, because you can literally say the exact same fucking thing. But like if someone's in a particular religion or a particular like vantage point, they'll just disagree with it on principle. So it's like, that's why I like to clarify that a lot of what people think of as angels and demons, it's actually interdimensionals, and they're the same damn fucking thing,
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, okay, angels and demons, and then the alien thing is part of the angels and demons, and everybody's
No. That's a different thing. That's more like, so either divergent timeline beings, as in us, at some point in our development, either ancient past or future, using kind of like engagements of technology that are just beyond our comprehension at this particular point, that fuck with the laws of physics. And that could be anywhere from various different sort of like epochs or graduation of the species. There are also like the notion of every epoch has like an ascendant line and a descendant line. So if you think of something like Atlantis and you go into that, it's like, well, they arguably had space travel. There's the potential of a breakaway civilization. What if a humanoid kind of thing broke away? Then, like, because we are cells of the earth, you can't go too far away until you eventually start to dissipate. So you'd have to start using crazy fucking science in order to be able to continue to survive in any capacity. That's where you get into the idea of, okay, well, are lizard people a thing? Are like the Greys a thing? What are they actually? And it ultimately, I think, comes back to basically being some denomination of us at some point in time. When or where that is, I don't fucking know. Could be like a bunch of different versions of it. But that's sort of how it factors in. It's different than the interdimensional spiritual thing because it's still a material base,
Yeah. Okay. You saying we're cells of the earth.
Yeah.
And if you get so far away, you start to dissipate.
Yeah, that's basically how it works. It's like for us to perceive them, they have to have some sort of engagement with the earth, either being from here, or if you go further back into our original kind of development as a species, then at that point you can argue that we were getting help from things that we would regard as the gods, because we were in our infancy and our primal kind of emergence from the sea of consciousness itself. Mm-hmm. So that's when I say like the dreams of angels kind of thing. But if you get into the whole gray area, that's more like advanced technology akin to the kind of shit that we're fucking around with now and was going around before.
Yeah, and it's like the ancient technology thing. When you look at like the pyramids, you look at Machu Picchu and these megalithic things, and it's like they had a way to move things, cut things, do things that we cannot figure out or fathom. But then they were still, it seems like basic, like not like.
No, that's
I don't know if they had. Like they did.
Okay,
no, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
So one of the things we think of Egypt as if it wasn't monotheistic. Yes, it was, but they had different sort of archetypal hieroglyphs and representations for forces in nature, and we interpret that as if those are their gods. They understood that it was all still one creator, but they sort of like had different kind of engagements with these archetypal representations of things.
To be able to explain things, basically.
Yeah, basically just to explain forces in nature. But then you have to get into like, what the fuck is the government of Egypt? And it's basically just a mind fuck trying to keep our understanding of what the Egyptians were, because once you understand what they were, they're the descendants of an ancient pre-Ice Age civilization, which once again I contend is Atlantis. So that's one of those things where it's just keeping a cap on ancient technology and the emergence of our civilization.
The Bach saga, keep mentioning Atlantis. Like, okay, so the story is at one point the Earth was sitting perfectly upright. You know how we're at the 27-degree tilt or 23-degree tilt or something like that, that we were sitting perfectly upright. So 50% of the Earth, if you believe it's round or whatever, and we're in space, that 50% of the Earth had light. So we were in like a paradise time, right? Pre-ice, basically. Then a cataclysm came, Earth tilted, we went into the Ice Age. That's when all land became ice. Atlantis, all ice, all land ice, basically. So then they were basically under the ice, especially in the northern hemisphere, because they were in Helsinki. That's where hell, you know, the word hell. There's supposedly Luden. Fuck, I fucked these words up. Anyways, Eeyore talked about a temple that was underground, right? And to get to this fucking temple, you had to go through 3 different granite blocks that were put there by man. There's no way these things were put there by nature. And inside this thing, if they get deep enough, they're going to find golden doors into this fucking temple, right? It's Lemonkind, I think it's called. But they started digging there back in the 80s, and sure as shit, they hit a fucking granite block. They blasted through the granite block, dig a little bit more, they hit another granite block, just like Eeyore said they were going to hit. So it's like, I don't know. You got to look into the Vox saga, dude.
No, dude, I'll definitely check it out.
Shit.
Like, what I can do is I can send you. I think it's Visions of Atlantis. If you're familiar with Grimerica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they recently did an interview with a dude who wrote that book, and what he does is a comprehensive overview of like the Edgar Cayce readings, Blavatsky, what she was talking about when it came to Atlantis. There was this kid who in like the late or mid to late 1800s. Arguably was not reading Blavatsky or exposed to that kind of material, was using the same verbiage of like Poseidia and various other different kind of things to describe what the fuck was going on, which when you get into like sort of the effervescence and percolation of consciousness in non-local nodes being like people as vessels, that tends to be how this shit works. It's why you'll get like corresponding things in completely opposite sides of the earth. So it's like, the way you describe this stuff sort of stacks up with a lot of kind of like the things that would make sense in my mind, and they wouldn't ultimately even necessarily be separate from one another. They'd be intertwined.
Yeah, and like that story is, you know, they were pushed underground, under the ice, basically, because of the cataclysm. I mean, they tell us that we're just coming out of the Ice Age, basically. And I think it was like the 7 brothers. I mean, these are numbers now, but they went across the earth and they started spreading their knowledge. That's where I was talking about like the Aztecs, or it was either the Mayans or the Aztecs. They're in were they in Central America? I'm not a geographist, but you know, before the Spaniards came and fucking destroyed everybody, like supposedly these white beings came and fucking taught them their knowledge. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and then you look at the Bach saga, and it's like, what the fuck? Like that's these 7 brothers fucking scattered across the fucking earth.
That's one of those things where that starts to, I don't remember if it's like Lemurians. It gets into all this Nordic looking races, and then the degree to which basically anything perceptually it can fucking lie to you. Because if you think of this level of consciousness and this level of technology, who the fuck knows if we're talking to a fucking lizard or if it's actually a lady named Margaret who really likes waffles? I don't fucking know, man. I'm not going to stab the bitch to see what's going on under the skin, but that's where we're at. It's like, so who the fuck knows? I'm dropping in the chat here, though, if you want to share it in the show notes. This is the link for the interview that they did on the Atlantis thing. So if you want to check that out and share it with your listeners.
Yeah, someone was asking about the video you were talking about, a lady describing narcissism.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's Meredith Miller. I have that document open. I can drop it really quick. I'm not actually in the chats when we co-host that together because, and that's why I look so pissed off when I'm listening, because I'm actually really fucking focused. But I read those comments afterward and they were hilarious. It's a great group of people. Here's the Meredith Miller talk for anyone who wants that. And that's really
Hell
great.
yeah.
So for anyone who's listening to this and you have family members, because it's like, I've been same with you, Chris. I've been trying to get my family members to understand this for a really long fucking time, and I keep it to kind of like baby step degrees, which is what my show is for. It's something that you can use as an outreach tool to get people in the door so they can understand reality. But some people need it spoken in a language that doesn't digress from their reality at all, like at all. And that's what this Meredith Miller talk is. It's basically like a description of narcissistic abuse patterns, which is exactly what we're in with the government and the state and all these corporations and the financial institutions and all their entwinement with one another. So she's just going over it in a step-by-step way. This is how you were abused in a narcissistic distortion of reality, gaslighting and Stockholm syndroming the population. And she goes through it in such a meticulous and beautiful construction that it literally, like, my dad's a neuropsychologist who's kind of been in the cognitive dissonance shutdown thing. It allowed him to broach the realm of perceiving the degree to which he himself had been duped. And that's really difficult for people who are smart to realize that they aren't as smart as they thought they were, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for that.
Fool a man than I don't know the whole fucking thing. You get
Convince him that he's been fooled. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, and I mean that's true as fuck. That it seems to be. But yeah, I mean, if looking into Atlantis, like I talked to you about like the World's Fairs and stuff. Howdy McCoskey, his work on the World's Fairs. Of like, I mean, his thought is like they were used as like a reset tool, especially the 1890s going into the 1900s, because we had all these mental hospitals that they were building like crazy. We didn't even fucking have like roads, and they're building massive mental hospitals, massive. Every state's got a massive capital, like the Iowa's capital. When you look at pictures of construction, I think it took like 6 years to build it. But when you look at like pictures of construction, there's no fucking roads. Everything had to be brought in by horse and wagon. I mean, there's pretty massive blocks at the Capitol in Iowa City there. And the dome alone on top of that building is like, God damn, like how the hell they do this? And then when talking about like how they built like the Chicago's World's Fair, the Columbia Expo, was 1893. It's 600 plus acres, right? They built basically Rome. It looks like fucking Rome, in a lower lake region, basically off the lake, off one of the lakes there in Chicago. They were able to develop all this land in 2 years.
Yeah.
They didn't even have bulldozers, man. And there's some people you'll say this to, and they're like, "Well, I can show you some Amish move a barn." It's like, yeah, I mean, a bunch of guys we can lift a barn, we can fucking move the barn around, but there's a lot of earth. I move the earth. I did, but driving a dump truck, I'm moving earth constantly. So I see what it takes with these machines, and supposedly they just laid down tracks with carts and they just shoveled in, and some donkeys moved the dirt out, and then they built these I mean, the mechanics building could house 200,000 people. And this is 1893. That's where the Ferris wheel came from. The fucking hot dog came from. Cotton candy, I think, came from Chicago World's Fair.
That's sort of when you get into like ancient technology shit. And you're right. Yep. I think that, and then you have like the flying machines of the 1800s, which significantly preceded the Wright brothers. You can think of like just the profound mind of Tesla and what he was tapping into with like 369 numerology and like his understanding of things beyond what everybody else was even capable of conceiving. So I think it is really one of those things where they are trying to control the narrative of our own understanding. And there will be sort of like, how if you'll in bubbles effervescing, occasionally you'll get a big one. It's like I think there are periods in time when those big ones hit. That's when they sort of mobilize to try and control it. I'm still listening. I got to turn on the air conditioning. I'm turning into tomato.
Yeah, I keep having to turn mine on and off. Fucking hot out here. I'm out in the garage. It's very humid in Arkansas. It's like living in the fucking jungle. I don't know. I don't go to the jungle a lot.
It's humid, admit.
One time I left the country and I went to the jungle and it was humid. It was nice though. I like it.
I've been in Thailand. That place exists, and Hawaii also exists.
Yeah, I went down to Mexico. We went on a cruise once. and I got to go to these Mayan ruins, which is cool. Like they're like, you want to go to a beach or you want to go to these ruins? I'm going to the fucking ruins. Like I ain't gonna fucking hang out on no fucking beach. I'm gonna go see fucking old ass shit. I want to see where they rolled heads and shit. I seen fucking, that Acapulco or whatever the fuck that movie is with the Apocalyptico. That fucking great movie holds up every time I watch it. You've seen that movie,
Yeah, I've seen
Apocalyptico? Is that what I'm saying? The Mel Gibson one with
Apocalypto.
Apocalypto. That's right, man. That movie. Yeah. Anyways, I went to one of those places.
The
Boring
Mayan
story.
Braveheart.
Yeah, it's a fucking stupid story. Anyways, yeah. So like, yeah. I mean, you got to check out this Box Saga thing. I'll send you some links to Jim
Yeah.
Cheshire
Yeah,
because when
send
you
me
watch
like-
him,
I'll read the
because
book.
I explain it like a retard.
No. I pick up what you're laying down. It's one of those things where it's like we're all in essence trying to describe indescribable shit with very broken binary language and approximations of what we've been exposed to, which may or may not even be the truth. So it's one of those things where we're all just like, I got this handful of Lego. It's like, what can we build with it? And then you hang out with somebody else. It's like, oh, dude, you got a quarter piece? You know, it's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, going through like all the occult stuff, the Saturn stuff, and the Box Saga, listen to Jim Chestner talk about it because he's got like this 9-part thing that he did, and listen to him explain it. It's like, holy shit, that's like the missing thing there. That's how everything went from like just like living, and the sun nourished us and kept us alive, and the sun went up and the sun went down. We had, it's a solar, a soul, a one, a single one. We only have one sun, and the earth is the planet is it is verse and plain. So plain verse or single verse, one song. Universe means one. Uni is one. Moon is one. That's why we only have a moon and every other planet has, or all the other planets have satellites, right? Because they have many moons and it doesn't mean one, right? Now I'm just fucking tangenting off. Every time I try to talk Box Saga, I fucking ruin it. Because
no, dude, all you got to do to sell it to people is at the end of your descriptions, just like start speaking in tongues, and they'll be like, "Oh man, that's the good shit." Just like, and then that's
about where I was about headed. I was about to start speaking in the ancient whatever language, the song language. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're looking into Atlantis and the ancient stuff, that the Box Saga, as far as like, it's not even like a mainstream thing. It's not. People have tried to bring it up to Graham Hancock. He pushes it off, even though he is like, we find something and we never dig deeper, and you got to dig deeper. And they're like, well, you're a fucking Nazi if you dig deeper and you find shit. It's like, what? They literally were calling Graham Hancock like a fucking Nazi because he's digging a little bit deeper, and he's not an archaeologist, so that means he's fucking retard. Like,
okay,
what?
Okay. So when you're describing like even like the Box Saga, the way that it's like the song, and then we think of like what the occult is and the overlap with the music industry, it makes me wonder how much of like the resonant harmonics that we're exposed to are deeply entwined with intergenerational memory, such that you got to wonder if you go back to the Box Saga, is there some bitch singing Rihanna? It's like
na, that fucking milk, like, dude. I mean, we know like that stuff there's inherent stuff in our DNA. I mean, just with like, instinctual stuff is built into our DNA. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there's a frequency that can be hit and just boom, unlock.
Well, it's not just even that. It's like if you hear and this is sort of what I mean with so in anthropology, it's the ticky-tacky effect. It's like the words have something that impacts your resonance in a way in which you will come to have a particular association as a result of the way that it sounds. So that is a thing. It is a way in which we respond to the harmonics of spoken words. And then you think about like the doctor, I think I can never remember, it's Emoji Emoto, like when the water crystallizes based on the sentiment that's being expressed. So you can think of that as being a really profound extension when you're speaking. it becomes something that literally affects and changes the receiving end. So we're sort of like speaking and speakers. And there's a beautiful Jay-Z line from one of his songs. I'm not a fan of the man, but it's a beautiful and brilliant fucking line. Impregnate the world when I come through these speakers.
Oh, that fucking Aleister Crowley dude loves to come on things.
Dude, I'm just saying, it's like when you get into this, it's so you're talking about intergenerational memory and the fact that it's inherent in nature. That's what I mean, where it's like maybe they just have like tape recordings of the greatest hits from like hundreds of thousands of years ago, and they're like, okay, make this bitch do this embarrassing ritual, and then she can have the rights to it.
Yeah, like someone did a breakdown of getting jiggy with it with Will Smith.
Oh yeah.
Like that video's from like, I don't fucking know, 1996 or something. Like it's fucking way too old for me. You know what I'm saying? But getting jiggy with it, it's a is it Ishtar? I believe it's Ishtar. I mean, it's like a fucking a thing to Ishtar. She was the goddess of like sex and stuff. The Nana, like is it Ishtar? I believe it is. But because he's like getting jiggy with it, because she was known by Nana. That's even why Renana's talking about the Nana, the milk. She dumps it all over her body, the honey, and blah blah blah. It's all about coming and sex and stuff because that's where the Big Bang is, right? I mean, we're all born from the Big Bang. Boom, 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 bang.
No, that's so funny because that was invented by like I believe it was a Catholic priest in the early 70s. So the idea of the Big Bang comes from a Catholic priest, and like the Jewish, and I heard this from Jordan Maxwell. I don't know if it's exactly 100% true, but he was saying that the word Yahweh means the release of sexual pleasure, like removing a knot from a hose.
Yeah, someone like the word anoint, right? We've all seen like the memes where they show like the priest is anointing the boy, you know, it's like fucking some sex shit. And someone tried to say, well, anoint isn't sexual. It means to get wet, to make wet. And to me, it's like, you're saying ladies didn't have wet ass pussies back then? You know, anoint still, it means to make wet, whether it's jizz or fucking water. It's still, it's this, you get, you know, it's liquid. You're going to get wet. Anointed. Like,
I can understand it as a metaphor. I don't know the etymology to actually speak to its emergence and what it was before.
Well, I mean, the etymology. I mean, it
could be.
To make
yeah.
Wet, you know, is to make wet or whatever from Latin.
Right, but even like I'd have to actually look at it. I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying it's one of those things where it's like a lot of the emergence of these things later on, they're solid metaphors that likely could be used, but then it always gets into that, is it something that's poetry or is it something that's prose? And then they kind of just all get mixed together at a certain point. Yeah. But I hear you. I know what you mean. It makes sense perfectly that it would be that.
Yeah, well, I was just, it's correlating because everything does come back to sex. It comes back to sex magic. I mean, when you think about it, we are born from the Big Bang. We come from the Big Bang. Life begins at literal a spark of light. You turn into a zygote, right? Then you go through all the steps of evolution of like from a fucking like a tadpole to a fucking fish to a fucking monkey to a fucking human, all in the gestation period of that, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean the only black holes I can see that I know exist are your fucking eyes. Yeah. Right? Light only enters, it never can escape. And everything you experience comes through those filters, through those holes, and is perceived somewhere in the darkest place in the universe. Right? No light is in here, but everything we experience is light. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's basically we're on the receiving end of the projector on the outside that we ourselves project based on our interpretation from the inside. And so that gets back to the premise that you
what I was trying to say right there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So back to what you were kind of describing with the sun being the one sun. Then you get into the esoteric and the significance of the premise of the masculine versus the feminine. And that's like you start to get into the black sun. And what the black sun is literally all of existence. And then you look at light as symbolic of the masculine, which is just that moment. So the masculine is what impregnates the feminine, which is all possibility, the depths of our being with what that moment is, you know? And that's why when you bring it back to the projection of the light from our monitors, it's fucking impregnating people, just like Jay-Z said. So they almost need that impregnation before they're able to be in line with the moment.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I can't remember where that metaphor is, but the sun and Mother Earth, and the sun being the masculine and laying its seed all over Mother Earth every morning.
That's also, so is rain when you understand the esoteric. So it comes from the feminine, but by the time it comes back down and hits the ground, that's when it becomes masculine. So it goes through all of these different like phase shift transitions prior to the point of being reintroduced in a way that impregnates the earth and allows things to grow again.
That's almost like a melding of the masculine and feminine into a singularity type thing.
Yeah.
Now we're into transgenderism.
Well, dude, that's the thing. That's actually an esoteric conversation that's been made an exoteric expression. So we're supposed to be talking about it in the sense of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and then the toxic feminine and the toxic masculine. But instead, everyone's just like, no, those are only external things. I'm not feminine inside. Everyone has a fucking feminine, like, inside. Yep. Everyone has a masculine impulse inside.
I tear up at movies. Yeah. I mean, everybody.
Yeah. It's people taking it literally in an external capacity when really it's an esoteric reality.
Yeah, man, we've hit on a lot of shit here, some deep shit.
I wonder if the audience is keeping up or if they're just like, I'm gonna go get some waffles, man. That guy made a good suggestion like 30 minutes ago.
Strawberry waffles.
10 years after the aliens invade.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because
fake aliens, I should say, fake aliens,
fucking fake ass aliens. Like, dude, that whole fake alien shit drove me nuts, man. The Vegas alien, like, it almost fucking enraged me there for a second because, like, everybody's posting the fucking shit like it's real. They're like, look, there was a fucking blue beam through the sky. It was on a police body cam. It's got to be real. Yeah, there was a streaking star through the fucking sky that caught on a body cam. How they fucking correlated together with each other, that's a whole nother thing. But
no, dude, like, we're just getting started on this shit. If you look at the holograms that we have in the public, it's 4K resolution in confined spaces. I mean, like, when you get to the undisclosed stuff, it's like, I'm not even gonna believe my eyes. If aliens show up, I'm gonna be the guy going door to door, be like, "Hi, this is a psyop. Here's a card. Watch this." And they're just like, that's not in the movie. In War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise doesn't have someone come over and be like, "Dude, just relax. They're just gonna like have them all die, and then they'll tell you that you saved the world so that you can become president, and then it'll turn out you're a Manchurian candidate." That's how
beating on the running up.
Yeah.
Remember COVID? It's like that, but with aliens.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So anyway,
but then they're going to be wearing a mask when they open the door and be like, "Fuck."
Yeah, and like you watch the drone stuff, like when people are talking about like Project Bluebeam, which I don't even think Project Bluebeam is an actual like projection of aliens in the fucking sky or Jesus come back. Everybody's kind of taken that and like ran with it. Project Bluebeam is like a different thing, and then the actual fucking projection is. Anyways. When you look at like projecting something in the sky, you know, you have where something could get in front of it, something could like interrupt the projection or whatever they're doing with holograms. It's the fucking drones that I think would definitely be used. When they send up 10,000 fucking drones to make a dragon flying through a 3-dimensional dragon flying through the sky, like, holy shit. If you had that and you flew over that fucking island where they killed that fucking Christian guy who came up there to tell him about fucking Jesus, and they fucking hit him with arrows and murdered him, right? And they do it every time someone comes up to that fucking island. Now, if they were on a boat far enough away where they couldn't see that they were there, and then they flew over their fucking dragon drones, those people would lose their fucking minds.
Okay, so this is a beautiful metaphor for how I like to describe introducing people to conspiracy, because you're so fucking spot on. And I describe it as basically like, if a caveman has never seen a car, that's a fucking dragon. That's just what it is automatically. So that's the problem when it comes to advanced technology. It just plays on our superstition, and then we insert our insistence that this is what it is. I have no fucking idea what language to use for the shit that they're going to try and introduce. I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, but it's coming. I mean, something. I just, when it comes to like the political spectrum and the one world thing and the going into the digital, what they're trying to put us into, the 2024 election shit, I just don't. Again, the pessimist in me, the black pill, is like, we're not gonna make it to that shit. Like, there's so much corruption being just like they're just floodgating corruption out. Like, look at, yep, we've been doing everything we fucking told you. We got the fucking, yeah, they're not chemtrails, they're SAIs. We're fucking doing this. We're poisoning you. We're fucking with the weather. We're doing that and this, that, and that, and they're raping kids. Blah blah blah. And
no, I hear you, but I think, like, I can't stress this enough. They work in long stretch margins. They almost need us to heal to a certain extent before they're able to sear us again. You know, it's like the flipping of the steak right now. You get removed from the heat before you find yourself in it again.
yeah, and they had those. It seemed like spaces for those false flags, those searings. You know, like 9/11, and then they waited a little bit until. Well, now this one, COVID. I think there was a little bit in between there, but
so that's the energetic buildup that when you understand the metaphysics, they need to almost like transmit it or pour it into the next thing. And then it's like, if you're going to marinate something, like, this is a cooking process. It's that's what they're doing, is they're cooking with us. In the same way, it's, if you visualize what cheese is, it's a contained area of bacteria vying for supremacy of resources in a controlled environment, in just like waves of genocide and back and forth. And then eventually you pop the top and you go, yum, you know, that's what they're doing with the species right now.
and they showed that on the Guardians of the Galaxy. We watched that one last night, and the dude that he's trying to create a perfect species for a new world, you know, and he's melding all the, you know, he's making all these homunculuses and all these fucking, that's where
when they start using
Ricky Raccoon, Rocket Raccoon.
Dude, when they start using like Jewish mysticism words in the various different Marvel movies, I get like so fucking agitated. Or it's like Gollum in the Lord of the Rings, and it's like, oh man, fuck off. I know
The
what you're
Guardians of the Galaxy ones are the only ones I can watch. They're half-ass funny. The other ones, I like, we were trying to sit and maybe try to watch all the Marvels in order, you know, and it's like we started watching the first whatever one it was. It's like, nah, I ain't got the time to sit here and watch all that.
No.
The Galaxy's funny. That's about it. The other ones, but they had that Doctor Strange or whatever.
Yeah, it's Doctor Strange. That's the mystery school metaphor.
Oh my god. Just the fucking trailer to that one, just all the GMI, the symbols, the numbers, the fucking, it's like, dude, how much more in your fucking face can you get with the shit, you know?
Man,
it's
okay.
Same with like my kid, you know, cartoons. She was watching a show the other day, and I happened to hear him say Baba Yaga, and I'm like, wait, what? And it's supposed to be like this, you know, these kids, they're like monster kids. It's like some play off this Monster High shit, and their head person is a Baba Yaga. She's supposed to be all nice and shit, and it's like, wait, Baba Yaga eats kids and is a fucking ogre, and they're trying to fucking tell you that Baba Yaga's nice, and then they have some dude in there named Alistair something. It's like, oh my god,
yeah,
you motherfuckers, man. They
so
just
like,
putting it right in your face.
And that's still just from the North American lens. If you want like the most mindfuck symbolism I've seen, it comes from a short that's in a film, which is actually a compilation of shorts called Genius Party. And I think you can watch it for free on YouTube, but it's like a Japanese short. And it's like, it's nothing other than like the digital terrarium of the technocratic agenda unfolding with all of the various different esoteric symbolism that underscores kind of our emergence into that education. And what you're describing right now is that they're teaching it backwards. You know, that's the most incredible thing. Is like, so wait a minute, we're at a point where half of us are being taught, arguably, so far as we're able to discern, the correct way, or at least potentially moving in that direction, where the other half are being taught kind of it backwards. Doesn't that reach an inevitable collision? Isn't that sort of the situation that we're being set up for? And I think that that's what it is by design.
Yeah. Yeah. My fucking brain is breaking.
Waffles.
Fucking waffles. I don't know if we live in a fucking world where my mom had to get a second job, right?
Uh-huh.
And she got a fucking job recently at the Waffle House. Nah, she had to fucking quit. Like, the person that's training her was a fucking asshole. Some like 26-year-old asshole, some chick who like would cuss at her. I say fuck all the time, you know, but she'd be like, you gotta fucking do this and fuck, you know, she's yelling at my mom. So much so, like, people are giving her $100 tips because they felt so bad for her and shit. But she had to quit.
That's a grift, man. Go back. Be like,
That's what I told her. I said, holy
bitch
shit.
in on it. Be
Yeah,
call
I'm
me a
like-
cunt right now.
I'm like, you got two options here. Sue Waffle House for their fucking work environment. They don't get rid of that lady, or milk it. If they're gonna give you $100 fucking tips, let her fucking scream at you all night. You know? Plus, you get free waffles. Maybe, I don't know. That one chick sounds like a bitch. She probably doesn't give you a free grand slam or anything.
Man, I've been a line cook a bunch. I'll tell you, it's a stressful fucking gig. And the restaurant industry, holy shit, it's designed to choke you out.
The only time I worked in a restaurant, my first job was at Burger King, right? When I was like 16. And then I had a job as a waiter for like a couple days, and it was at a buffet. And I couldn't even handle it at that. It was a buffet. All I had to do was get their fucking drinks. Right? And I have crazy ADHD. You know, they're telling me like I want Dr. Pepper. She's like, I want Coca-Cola. And he's like, wait, I want a Dr. Pepper. Then she wants that. I'm already like 5 deep. You know, we're already around the table. And I'm like, he wanted the Dr. Pepper, right? She wanted the Coke. And then I'm just gonna make the rest of this up. It's just it was a buffet. I was a waiter at a buffet, and I couldn't hang it on the waiter thing. I could imagine if I was a fucking line cook. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, you got to be good at it. I'll put it that way. You're good at it or you're not it.
Like me trying to fucking cook at the house for the family and like grilling and running in and out of the fucking house, and I'm sweating my ass off and shit. I'm not even cooking for a restaurant. I'm ready to throw my fucking spatula and shit into the woods. I could imagine being a line cook and people fucking sending shit back and being assholes and shit.
Oh no, that's why you don't screw up. If they send shit back, it's like, no, I don't know. I don't work in environments.
I've seen that movie. I've seen the movie with Dane Cook, and they rub it on their balls.
No, that's not a thing. It also overlaps with like Fight Club and kind of the whole fuck you meant. Like there was one really interesting interview of Chuck Palahniuk on Letterman, and he was describing how people would give him feedback after reading his book. And one of the feedbacks he got is Margaret Thatcher has eaten my sperm. So, because in Fight Club, he jerks off in the soup. So that's what this line cook took the initiative to do with Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, shit. Oh my God, dude. Fucking gross. There's fucking people who fucking are. Yeah, again, the assholes outweighing the good people.
I think it's a consequence of these predatory parasitic systems that were emerged into such an extent where it kind of rubs off on us to a certain degree.
Yeah, you know, I can't remember what we were talking about earlier, and I was going to mention this, but like Libs of TikTok, right? Libs of TikTok, you see these videos that pop. We were talking about the NPCs and shit and how they it's like they're trying to get like people like us to go, you know what, that eugenics thing probably isn't a horrible idea, you know, when you fucking flip through Libs of TikTok, it's like, you know, Bill might be onto something with that whole thing. You know, I feel like that's what they're trying to do is try to get, you know, because like this shit is constantly like popping up. And Twitter, I think you might have been on AM Wake when I've talked about this, how Twitter with their algorithms, they now have the For You and the following, and like the For You. I can't get through a day without death, without a fucking violent death coming up, and gay shit, like crazy gay shit, a lot of gay shit, and same with Facebook. Facebook's constantly coming up with that Better Health or whatever it is that everybody was like shilling on their fucking podcast, betterhealth.com, I think it is. slash a rantcast. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I don't have that fucking sponsor. Better Health. It is on my Facebook. Every fucking ad is a trans woman. It's confusing because they're trans into a woman. I feel like it'd be a trans man, even though it's whatever. Anyways, it's a dude in a, the whole makeup. And I don't know if it's a drag queen or a trans person at that point, right? Because they're supposed to be two different things. Not all drag people are trans, and I don't even think all drag people are gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a fine line there. Anyways,
I think it's an infinitesimally specific minutia to each respective individual to such an extent where it would take an even longer fucking sentence than the one I'm saying to begin to describe.
Yeah. But the Better Health keeps popping up with those ads. It'll be like a trans dude, like, I needed Better Health, and it's like, dude, I don't think it worked. I don't think the Better Health worked for you. You got the eyeliner and you got the whole fucking hair, and like, dude, I don't think it worked. And like, why the fuck are you trying to sell me Better Health that way? Like, I'm not. Obviously, I see it's not working very well. Like, online fucking psychiatry is not fucking working that way. But like with like I'm saying, the libs of TikTok, the shit they're pushing, I can't get through my goddamn TikTok without seeing fucking, people die. Yeah. They've got the TV, like I was talking with OJ, god damn it, the fucking the phrase I was trying to find last time was right there, and the train fucking left the station. Now that is on everything, like I've said on AM with Steve, is I can't walk into the house because my wife, she watches all these dumb shows and shit. And every time I walk into the living room or into the bedroom, she got a show on. It's something gay is on the screen. There's two dudes kissing, or there's a trans people on the screen. And every time I walk in, I just drop my head. And she's like, it has to be in there. They have to have. It's like, I fucking know that. And you fucking know that. Like, she's like, but I got, I like this show. And it's not like I'm walking in and be like, oh, I fucking hate these gay people. No, that's not what I'm doing. It's just like, God damn it. Like, every fucking time. Even on Hulu, you try to watch a fucking show on there, because it's hard for me to watch an entire movie or to, like, watch shows. You try to watch a show on there, and they keep pumping out Hims fucking commercials and whatever the fucking medicine is that you have to take for your whole life if you want to have gay sex and not get the AIDS. There's some medicine I don't know. Starts with a V, man. The fucking commercial comes on, even on, like, if flipping through news to watch how talking heads are talking about certain things. When you go from like CNN to Fox during the day, you have Fox literally puts in gay commercials. And I don't know if they do that on purpose to troll the old people at home watching it, but they literally go from fucking life insurance to like Truvidia or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the pill you got to take for your whole life so you can have the gay sex and not get the AIDS. And it's like, dude, why do you keep putting that on Fox? Like right after the fucking life insurance. Dude, these people are not running out having the gay sex.
No, they're literally trying to implode all identity demographics internally within the government to facilitate a civil war environment and just a general eruption. So it's the same thing with like Tucker dick sucking the Tate brothers. You know, it's like, who fucking gives a shit? And yet people worship and idolize the prick enough where they just put aside the billionaire ties, the CIA kind of associations, and everything that's suspect about the guy. Yeah, he'll talk about 9/11 like 20 plus fucking years after we've all been doing like the groundwork on that kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's like, that's the trendy conversation. It's like a couple of week to 2 year fucking span, and they have to cover it after our depth of research and investment into the reality of things. It's just,
and after we've paid the price and we've been banned and fucking, I mean, I just seen a NASCAR driver has been suspended because he liked a meme about George Floyd. Like, holy shit.
Oh, that explains Clint Russell's post, because he was saying, I just went to like a bunch of like George Floyd memes to guarantee that no one in the establishment would ever hire me. It felt really good, you know.
I went and liked a bunch of George. I'm hoping they fire me so fucking Elon can go. I already got fired.
People are either going to be going for government subsidy or they're going to be sucking off Twitter's whatever the cloaca.
I mean, Elon tweeted out, was it last night or this morning? Like, if you, which I think is he's responding to that tweet that NASCAR dude just got fucking basically first year in NASCAR fired because you liked a tweet. It was a funny tweet. I mean, it was a funny meme. If it's funny, like there should be no repercussions whatsoever. As long as it's funny, there should definitely be no repercussions.
Dude, they are really shutting down humor, and I understand why. Because if you think of our humor, it's pretty fucking dark, man. Like we go into shit that would make a lot of like normie people just like weep, and it's like sorry, it's like
we have to like
we've been paying attention to this really well for a very long time.
Yeah, and we can kind of laugh at it at the same time. It's like, fuck, like they're trying to like. Yeah, like talking to people, like that barrier, being able to break a barrier, you know, with the being funny. Because you see comics now, you've seen Dana Carvey and the little short guy next to Chris Farley, Spade. Dana Carvey and Spade have a podcast together, and they had a fucking segment that went viral where Dana Carvey's like fucking making fun of the vaccine and COVID and shit, and like. Oh, now you guys can make fun of it. And that episode is still, it's got 2 million views on YouTube, never taken down, monetized and everything. I say COVID. This episode's definitely already probably taken off YouTube. I'm sure I got a notification saying you fucking there's your last fucking check mark or whatever, your X, whatever the fuck it is. But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy world we're in. It's just crazy times, but it's the only times I've been in, so I don't have it anything to compare to except when it wasn't crazy, but it's always been crazy. It's just now it's so visual, it's so like when I was watching Jaws earlier and they kept having to call people on phones and shit, it's an emergency and they gotta like go find a phone, and if someone smashes the phone, what are you gonna do now? The guy smashes the phone in the boat. Like, for one, that's crazy as fuck. Two, what do you do now? You ain't got no fucking radio or nothing. Like, how do you fucking save anything? I don't even remember. I mean, I lived during that time. I lived during the time where we didn't have Google Maps. We didn't have, like, there was a time when my phone broke. This was years ago, and all my numbers are saved in my phone. Back in the day, like I remember my parents, when I was like 4 or 5, and I remember my friends' phone numbers, and they're like, wow, that's so amazing. You remember those numbers. And it's like, now I can't remember my fucking mom's number. I can't remember my own fucking phone number. I remember my phone broke one time and it was supposed to transfer, and I call up the customer service, and this lady's like from Alabama, and she's like, yeah, a lot of us aren't that. I can't remember what she said, but it was basically fucking stupid. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, a lot of us, we write our numbers down. And I was like, oh, you fucking lady. Like, yeah, I get that. People write down numbers. I went, I get that, lady. I can't remember a thing thanks to these goddamn phones. My spelling's starting to get fucking horrible because of the auto fucking spell. Dude, there's times where I'm typing on the computer and I'm looking and I'll slide my hand across the fucking keyboard because of the goddamn swipe. I gotta throw this phone off the fucking thing. Off the goddamn thing. The swipe's ruining my fucking life. The autocorrect is fucking making me look retarded if I fucking don't look at it and I hit send.
I'm the same.
Anyways,
dude, I'm a fiction writer and I can't spell for shit. I mean, I've gotten better over time, but like, damn.
Oh, I've gotten worse. Fucking worse. Because the words on the phone, they just come up and it's just there. What really pisses you off? When you type a word out and the red line doesn't go under it, and you're like, holy shit, I spelled that right? And then you start typing the rest of the sentence, and then it turns red again. And then it's like, wait, you fucker. It almost let me send that spelling error, and you fucking knew, Samsung. You about let me get away with that. It's fucking bullshit. It's making me look stupid, which is pretty easy to do. Anyways, tell people where they can find you. What?
Okay, so my whole deal is I co-host AM Wake Up now on Wednesdays with Chris, who's also there hanging out with Steve. If you're not hanging out with us in the morning on Wednesdays, you can always check it out after it's been recorded. But I ended up getting that gig hanging out with these guys because of a show that I host called Conspiracy Synergy. And I'm an artist and a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, editor, actor, illustrator, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I've been researching this shit for like 15, 20 fucking years. And I noticed that a lot of stuff in various different compartmentalized exposures of the alternative media, some people knew some stuff, but they didn't know other stuff. And I'm like, why the fuck aren't people fucking talking to each other to learn what the fuck is going on so we can kind of get on the same page with one another? And that becomes really difficult when you get into a lot of the territory that Chris and I have tried to cover today, because once you get really far out there, it's like, what the fuck? But insofar as some of the basics, it's a lot more something that you can give people a crash course on. And this applies to your friends and family. That's what my show is. It's an outreach tool for you to take huge amounts of information and get people up to speed very, very quickly. So it's kind of like a trailer for the entire conspiratorial realm. And then there's also the references page where you can jump to, and that is hundreds upon hundreds of different links, which becomes tens upon tens of thousands of hours when you dive into all the different books, content creators, all these different things going off in all different directions. So it's sort of like a central place that gives you rabbit holes out to the broadest expanse of the alternative media, and it just gets you up and fucking running. And then you can give that to your friends and family, and it's like, start here, god damn it, just fucking get started. And I'm really emotionally welcoming and encouraging, and it feels great, and it's backed by the references, and it's everything you're fucking looking for. So for fuck's sakes, pretty please for sugar on top, I love you. Check out conspiracysynergy.com and use it as an outreach tool for your friends and family.
Hell yeah, that's pretty dope. I didn't even see that reference thing on there. You put everything in there.
That's just episode 1. And I go and open all that shit.
That's just a one episode there. Like I was saying at the beginning there, you put a lot of, just watching the episodes was, you put a lot of time into them, and then you see this, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Fucking a lot of fucking time.
Yeah.
It's good. People need to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Like Teace was saying, Wednesdays, every Wednesday. This Wednesday, we got Dr. Shiva coming on. So that's...
We're going to get talked at. The only question I can think to ask the dude, because I'm reading the book on technocracy, is please distinguish between system science and technocracy.
Sweet. Yeah, because that's an easy guess to have on. Because
I'm just going to get like 5 coffees and just like sip them one after another. Just like,
it's going to be great. People need to check that out. And check out AM Wake Up every morning right now. I'm co-hosting while I'm healing up my shoulder. I got that fucking tears in my shoulder and the stupid PT I got to do. So for now, I'm co-hosting on AM Wake Up. Check me out on there. Check me out next Sunday. Check out Teace's stuff for sure. ConspiracySynergy.com. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.
Have a good night.
It's a grotesque postmodern psyop, and anyone who's fallen for this is brain damaged. It's a grotesque postmodern psyop, and anyone who's fallen for this is brain damaged. It's a grotesque postmodern psyop, and anyone who's fallen for this is brain damaged. It's a grotesque postmodern psyop, and anyone who's fallen for this is brain damaged. It's a grotesque